After being the number one seed heading into the college football playoffs, Ohio State gave Oregon kind of the business there, right? And it really seemed like Oregon was the best team in college football for that first half of the season. They were getting high level play from quarterback, defensive line, offensive line, wide receiver, running back. I mean, they were getting high level play from everywhere. All right. However, when I look at this team this year, it's just not that deep. And sorry, I mean the top level talent is definitely there, right? And you are definitely gambling on Dante Moore taking a step at quarterback spot. You're gambling a little bit on some transfer portal guys in the offensive line, which is never a great sign. On the in the secondary, you're just playing transfer portal roulette here, trying to replace that entire look that you had last year. That was pretty good. So, what are the expectations here for Oregon here with the Dan Lanning heading into his fourth season, CD?
Yeah, expectations are high. I mean, they should be, right? I thought last year obviously it didn't end the way you wanted to. You're going to have a very sour taste with the way Ohio State game ended and what you thought you were capable of being an overall team in the country and having just a heck of a year, right? Um, you lose a lot of very good players. You had some unfortunate injuries in the offseason, and all of a sudden you're going to be putting a lot of new faces out there, transfers, supplemented with some young kids from your high schools. I mean, it's Landon's fourth year, so like he's been around. Like the recruiting classes that he's been kind of putting together are starting to unfold, and obviously these guys become big time playmakers on this team. You've got an inexperience and still a competition at quarterback. Although I mean, I'm gonna go about this video assuming it's Dante Moore. It sounds like that's where the tea leaves are headed into in terms of him being the guy. But Novosad is pushing him, and I think that's more about Novosad being a really good player and not just about Dante Moore, potentially struggling in camp. So a lot of questions, still a lot of talent on this team with a lot of expectations. Obviously, a massive team to watch just because of the nature of the talent on this roster and their schedule too. I mean, if you get very very good production from some spots you might be a little bit worried about, you're looking at a playoff team here. It's 11-1, and you're going to be probably hosting a playoff game or potentially playing in the Big Ten title game again. So yeah, expectations are high.
Let me ask you this: Maringer gets promoted to co-offensive coordinator. Do we think that that's because Dan Lanning's not sure how much longer he's going to have Will Stein on that staff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that, and also titles too. I think
Who cares,
in
right?
2025, it's more about paycheck in terms of title, and that's how you keep guys on staff. Whatever responsibilities might change, maybe in the day to day and the pre week stuff or prep and all that. But in terms of like offensive play caller, yeah, I'm not worried. It's not about Will Stein. It's yeah, but that's also a great point too. That like Stein at some point is going to be a head coach and be a damn good one somewhere. Uh, and he has just been so good for you with Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, and now turning the keys over to probably Dante Moore. He remains one of, if not the best offensive coordinators in college football.
Yeah, and Dante Moore got himself out of a situation at UCLA. I mean, he admitted it, openly. Like he's like, I got to get out of there, right? But Chip Kelly's good. He's a good play caller, right? I just don't think the situation and the talent around him was necessarily conducive to him having success. But he won that job early, right? I mean, he went all the way to California to play for UCLA. I mean, he's a Detroit, Michigan kid, right? So interesting staying on the West Coast here, but I'm pretty confident that he'll play well. I don't know that he'll play like at Dylan Gabriel level. Like Dylan Gabriel is is he tied with Case Keenum for all time passing touchdowns in college football? I think that's a stat with 155. So like you are replacing one of the more historical quarterbacks that we've ever seen. One of the most veteran tenured quarterbacks in college football history. At running back, I mean Jordan James is really good. but so is Mackay Hughes, and you still get Noah Whittington back.
Yeah,
Like, this could almost be an upgrade. I mean, Jordan James was awesome, right? But Mackay Hughes was legit for Tulane last year. And just watching him get transplanted into an even better offense is pretty exciting.
no, absolutely. Especially when you're working in a new quarterback. Obviously, we think the world, or like there's good reason for optimism in that quarterback room, and some of your weapons. But yeah, this running back room is very important in terms of staying ahead of the chains, consistent running football. Obviously, in the Big Ten, like Oregon knows, like you have to run the football. You have to. And Mackay Hughes was a massive, massive portal kid. Whittingham was a great, like more of a change of pace kind of guy last year for you kind of stay in that role instead of emerging into being the alpha in this room because Mackay Hughes, not only are you paying him as such, but you're gonna give him a lot, and he can handle that too. He had 260 attempts last year. I expect him to get somewhere around 230 or so for Oregon, maybe 200, and obviously be ready to rock and roll. The one question they'll do is if there's injuries to Mackay Hughes, right? Like, what's the depth look like? Deshaun Riggs is there, second year guy. Uh, is Dear Hill and Jordan Davison ready to play and step into that role as true freshmen? I mean, Davison a little bit bigger than Hill, 235, 240 pounds, with Hill being a little bit more quick and explosive, a little bit lighter. So you've got bodies in this room. This is, yeah, an absolutely strong unit on this team.
Wide receiver doesn't feel like your strength this year, as it has been the last couple years. You lose Tez Johnson to the NFL. Trayshawn Holden is gone. And Evan Stewart, unfortunately, goes down to injury. And he was going to be your alpha guy, right? And as talented as he is, unfortunate that he got hurt, right? He showed up in big games like the Ohio State game last year, right, in the regular season. Showed up for that one, right? He was unguardable. Denzel Burke couldn't stop him. So I like I would have liked this wide receiver room a lot better, obviously, if he was playing, but there's still some talent here. I mean, Gary Bryant Jr. is a guy that people have talked about for years, being this kind of speedster when he was at USC, and now he's here. DeCorian Moore is the true freshman. Like, he's probably going to have to be the alpha in this room as a true freshman, which is nuts. But by the way, if you get a chance, just watch his high school tape. I mean, it is ungodly what that guy was doing to people at that size. It is wild watching him play football.
It's good
Malik,
competition too. He's playing against, yeah.
yeah, yeah, 6'8" football in Texas. That's crazy. Malik Benson, Florida State guy, Alabama before that. I mean, we'll see. Justice Lowe, Kyler Casper. I mean, there's names. Not a lot of these guys get me excited though, the way that DeCorian Moore does.
Absolutely, it would have been a lot of fun to watch him and Stewart. Sucks that he got hurt in the summer there. That definitely, I think, changes things for you. Malik Benson, I think it's more of a supplementary than like a key piece. And I know Gary Bryant's the talk of the town right now in Eugene. I want to see it to believe it, right? In terms of like, okay, let's put it all together for him and let's stay healthy and really, come together here and like trying to step into an alpha role. Like that's gonna be hard. And it's also hard to ask a true freshman like Jeremiah Smith, what Ryan Williams did, Cam Coleman at the end of the season, like that was way out of the norm of expectations for these guys to come in and play like that as true freshmen in high level, big time college football spots. Yeah, we think the world of Decor and more, but in an ideal world, he can be the Robin to Evan Stewart's Batman, and now he has to be the Batman, right? And that's that much harder. Last year, I we talked about Kyler Casper being a guy that was just a really nice piece to have. 6'6" gives you a different piece in that room, and like him being like the sixth or seventh or eighth option in that like in the passing game with the couple tight ends you had last year was awesome. And like, but now is he ready to step into more of a role, right? Like is Jeremiah McClellan, the redshirt freshman, a big flip, a big recruiting win you got there? Is he ready to step into a role? So, and obviously Jarian Dickey, not going to be able to play here probably, and that was a guy you brought in a couple years ago. And you've been waiting for him to pop as a 5-star kid, and he hasn't. So it's just been couple misses in recruiting, and obviously the injury to Stewart, and all of a sudden this room looks a lot less promising than it did this time last year, which is a massive part, a massive piece of your team. Go back to that Ohio State game you won. Like you had Evan Stewart and Tez Johnson making massive plays for you. And we'll talk about the tight end room in a second here, but yeah, you can't help but think it's going to be a downgrade. How significant the downgrade is up to DeCorin Moore and Gary Bryant and Justice Slow and guys like that.
Tight end room, you feel pretty good about Kenyon Sadiq, Jamari Johnson. I mean, the thing is, losing Terrence Ferguson, like he was kind of really awesome. Like he was really good. NFL like player. I say NFL like. He is an NFL player. But yeah, I mean, I like both of these guys. I think they're both pretty versatile. I think they're both better blockers than people will give them credit for. Yeah, I mean, how can you not feel good about this tight end room?
Yeah, the one, like silver lining to like, oh, maybe your wide receivers, aren't elite. It's more targets for Kenyon Sadiq, man. That guy is incredible. It sounds like he is still growing into his own in camp, which is exciting to see that the potential is still there to be met. Although what he did was so exciting for you last year, and he can step into a larger role for you. You're also bringing Jamari Johnson from Louisville to compete. The young kid, Roger Pega. So yeah, all of a sudden, it's a solid group here. And then the true freshman Vanderplug, 6'6", 240. He's right. He's not probably not ready to play 400, 500 snaps, but he can give you something too if you do have some injuries or battle some attrition to this room. So Sadiq's a guy that you look around college football and like, who are the best tight ends in college football? He's on that short list, and by the end of the year, he could very well find himself at the top of that room.
The offensive line, I think, is. I mean, you lose lots of guys, right? But here's the thing, though. The silver lining is that you have one of the better centers in college football. Your two guards are both guys that have started in the Big Ten before, and then your two tackles are one of the highest rated G5 guys coming out in the portal that both gave up less than 3% pressure rate, from those anchor spots. So there's reason to be very optimistic, but like when you lose some of the key pieces that you did, uh, yeah, there normally would be reason to be concerned if you're losing Cornelius and you're losing Connerly and you're losing your guards. But Bedford was supposed to start last year, or likely, I guess. But then he got hurt, so he's back for another year of football. The guy's been in college football for like 6 years now. And then, yeah, I mean, these two tackles, Harkley from Texas State and Isaiah World from Nevada. I mean, World is a guy that 6'8". I mean, long. If those guys are good at those tackle spots, like this could be one of the better offensive lines in the Big Ten, if not in college football. Again, if those guys adjust to Big Ten football.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about the tackles too. I I feel pretty good. Like their athleticism and their traits, like that's that's not going away, right? And like you get them into a system and coaching staff. I'm not too worried about them holding up in pass protection, keeping Dante Moore, keeping Austin Novosad healthy, and allowing Sadiq and some of the playmakers to get open down the field. I do worry a little bit more about running the football, like down in and down out. That's where you hopefully get some of your beef in the interior. I know for a line that runs about 315, 320 average across, like it shouldn't be a worry. But in terms of the physicality of like, lining up and just imposing your will on third and short, fourth and short, that is one thing that it will be interesting to see. I think they can do it. This is not a spot that I'm too worried about. But what if there is one question, if I have to nitpick, that could be something I'll be watching early on. And you won't really get a great test until Penn State. So like it'll be the polls will be live. It'll be the all or nothing for you there, and you'll know pretty quickly if that could be a trouble for you the rest of the year. But uh, and then about depth too, I'll be honest, like I don't know. They did go out in the portal and get three guys. I think that's pretty telling. I think that part of that's too is you have the option to get three legit starters and upgrades on your team. That not many teams can do that in the portal. So that you go out and do that if you can. The depth, I mean, it's year four now for Will Stein, and all four out of the five guys are transfer offensive linemen. I want to start seeing some of these homegrown kids. Maybe that's your depth. Maybe they're coming along a little bit slower than you thought. How ready are those guys to play? If you do see injuries, to one of your tackles, if you do have struggles with one of the tackles, whatever it may be, are these guys ready to play behind them?
Yeah, I hope so. I certainly hope so. So that's the offensive side of the ball. And for the question marks that we have there, it's not that bad. Like for having to replace what you're having to replace from last year, it's not too bad. The defensive line, Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell in the interior were insane. Derek Harmon was unbelievable in the interior. I just don't think you've appropriately replaced him. And I don't know. I don't know that you could, right? I don't know that there's any options in the portal that were equivalent to Derek Harmon as one of the best interior defensive linemen in college football last year. You still get a really good edge group back in Tuioti and Uyangalele. Elijah Rushing, does he take a step there as a redshirt freshman? You do bring in Bear Alexander from USC, and I know people give him a hard time because he's played on a different team every single season, but we're not talking about 2026, all right? We're talking about 2025. Will Bear Alexander be a significant contributor on this defensive line? The answer is yeah, he's going to have to be, right? Highly rated recruit. Has played okay at times. I know effort's been a concern, but who knows, right? Who knows? I'm just not projecting him to be as good as Derek Harmon or Jamari Caldwell, is what I'm trying to say. That's what you're trying to replace these guys with. And I still think the linebacking core is really good, so that'll help you out for sure. But I worry about the interior defensive line. And I also worry about the depth of this defensive line as well. Things happen. How many Tuioti played 600 snaps last year, and same with Uyunglele. Who's playing it? Jordan Birch is gone. Who's playing edge?
Yeah,
If you know what I'm saying?
it sounds like Blake Purchase is a guy they feel pretty comfortable about being your third rotational edge. And then in terms of a pass rushing look, Ashton Porter's a guy that they feel is one of the better pass rushers that they have on their team. There would be a downgrade. Uyangalele is one of the better players in college football. What he can do for you and take over games. And Tatum Tuioti is a guy that has played so much for you. Elijah Rushing, is he a guy that can step up too? Do you see a growth from him? So there's downgrade there in terms of depth. Up at high end playmaking for you, obviously. Yeah, to me, I'm looking at that interior and I'm like, man, oh man, are you putting a lot of faith in Bear Alexander? And obviously, when he's on the field and playing well, yeah, it's special at times. Amari Washington, the guy that at least he played a good amount of snaps. They also stayed unbelievably healthy on that defensive line in terms of guys playing a ton of snaps. You talked about with the two edge guys, but even Harmon and Caldwell played almost 600 snaps each, and then Birch added 400 something with him. I know he battled injuries a little bit more than the other guys, but that's the worry too. Not only did you get good injury history, good injury luck, you had elite talent on that front there. If you do tap into some of those injuries, yeah, it's something that's of worry. And we're also grading on a different scale. This is Oregon, a legit conference contender in the Big Ten, a legit team that wants to be competing for national titles. yeah, like we're going to talk about these questions because that's what it takes. You saw Ohio State battle a lot of injuries on the offensive line last year, and they still won the title, right? So, like, you're going to see attrition in some of your rooms. You've already seen some of it. Are you ready for that in this defensive line group? I think that's a very fair question. But they didn't go out and get anybody other than Bear Alexander. So,
No,
like,
that's the other thing.
and I know defensive line is a little bit harder to find in the portal, but there's still names out there
For
and
sure.
talent out there. So if Oregon wanted them, they could have gotten them or at least tried to, and that must mean they feel pretty good about what they got there.
Here's the thing though, like I would normally say that, but I think interior defensive line is really tough to get high level guys in the portal.
Yeah,
Like how many guys are you going to see that are better than Bear Alexander in the portal and the interior defensive line? And then an edge, like how how do you bring someone in? Like they look at this and they're like, these other guys played 600 snaps. Like I'm not going to see the field if I'm coming in as an edge rusher, you know? Like I would just be a depth piece here when I could go over here and be a starter, you know? Unless you're like a sophomore and you're like, okay, well, I'll learn from these guys for a year, let these guys go to the NFL, and then see what work from there. But I don't know. I think every situation's a little bit different, and I think you're right. I think I would normally say that, CD, but I'm a little bit more skeptical of the defensive line depth and like what they believe they versus what they believe they have there. I don't know. We'll see though. Linebacker spot, you lose Jeffrey Bassa, Bryce Betcher, Devin Jackson. I mean, we're still feeling pretty good about this, right?
yeah, it's a fun group. Betcher's got a fun story too. Walk on kid, a guy you love to root for, and yeah, obviously Bassett was so good, and you got a couple guys in the portal and whatever else. But yeah, it's a pretty solid group here. Like I don't have too much worry. Even with Braden Platt, Dylan Williams, guys behind them, you have to think it's going to be a group that you're going to have to rely upon in this front seven.
The secondary, though, CD, complete rebuild. But the thing is, kind of like the offensive line, you like some of the players that they brought in here, right? I mean, these are really good. These are talented players that they're bringing in here, and it's like, can Tosh Lapoy unlock some of these guys, get these guys to play together, right? And then if they're getting pressure on the quarterback, from the edge, they won't be seeing as much interior pressure this year as they did last year. But as a group that was as talented as it was last year, what do you see this room being with some of these guys that they're bringing in?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the headliner, Heineman was so good. He was the guy we talked about since he was in high school, right? And Purdue got him, and what a win that was for him in the Midwest. Obviously, yeah, Kennedy and Johnson are going to be pieces for you. Are they even going to start? I think that's like a great question to have because we know what they are and we know the floor that they give you. If you have some of these younger guys that I talked about in a couple of like Dan Lanning's recruiting classes starting to really seep in, and this is where you're seeing reaping those benefits. I feel like with Jaleel Forens, obviously, Ife Obadegwu, it sounds like he's really taken a step and had a really nice development camp. Obviously, very good player, very talented in his own right. Naeem Alford's a guy that fans will be looking to see, excited to see. Peyton Woodyard as well. Aaron Flowers, like just Trey McNutt when he gets healthy, like how much can he give you? So yeah, it's a fun one. There's Dalen Austin, obviously a guy that's probably going to be finding the spot on the or on this roster here. Um, Also pretty talented recruit himself. So the good news is that you got a lot of pieces, even though it feels like a rebuild of this room. Like sounds like you've got a lot of nice pieces. You're supplementing your portal guys. You've got your stars, and now it's going to be like let's get some real development here with some young guys coming in. Sounds like you hit on that, and kind of come together and be very versatile with what Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoi can do, being multiple back there in your secondaries. Because the reality is, like you're going to need that because in any given week in the Big Ten, you're going to be playing such contrasting styles of offense that having defensive backs that can be super versatile, not only play against different schemes, have different bodies you can run out there. If wear and tear is happening, if you're playing Iowa or Minnesota or Rutgers or even Wisconsin, teams that want to be physical and run the football, and then all of a sudden you got to gear up for your Penn States and Indiana, USC, Washington that want to be a little bit more spread you out and high octane. So it's a good group. It's one I'm excited for. I think I feel probably better about this group than maybe the rest of your defensive positions in terms of like what I think their floor can be, and then also what the ceiling can unlock if you hit on some guys and the development you're seeing in camp turns out and carries over into the regular season.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to, right? Not that you're playing like some, not that your whole schedule's littered with elite quarterbacks, but like some of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten are on your schedule. All right. I mean, you're looking at
Yeah.
Drew Aller, you're looking at Mendoza, you're looking at Gronowski,
Yep.
question mark.
Yep.
But Williams over at Washington, JD Mayava at USC, like some of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten are on your schedule, right? So getting the quarterback and being really solid in that secondary and, playing cohesively. Like how many times have we seen in college football, like you bring in like really good talent in the secondary and it's just blown coverage after blown coverage after blown coverage. Not necessarily like these players are getting hip to hip. I'm talking about like just actual breakdowns in terms of trying to understand like what responsibilities are. So fortunately, I think a lot of these guys are, I mean, experienced guys. We're talking about redshirt seniors, right? They're bringing in plus Dylan Dynaman. I mean, I would anticipate this room, playing a little bit more cohesively than, some of your standard defensive back rooms that are going to be built out of the portal. But overall, still can't help but worry about it a little bit. Can't help but worry about that interior defensive line, and for that matter, that defensive line depth a little bit. Although some people would argue that they're pretty deep on the defensive line, and and I'm not gonna push that one too hard. There'll always be guys that end up stepping up, so I'm not gonna. I won't push that one too hard. And then offensive line, can they come together? So you look at this. Where are we going here? The over and win totals 10.5. A lot of places. It's closer to even odds. If you look at over under 10 wins in some of these places, we'll pick it at 10. I lean a 3-loss Oregon team. I think a 3-loss Oregon team is more likely than a 1-loss Oregon team. Is that crazy? I don't think that's crazy at all. Although I think 10 is probably the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I might fade you. I have a hard time. Like I like at being at 10. It gives me confidence to be on the over. Not that I'm going to be confident enough in taking it to the window, but Penn State's obviously like your headliner on the road. That's the whiteout, right? Penn State will be fired up for that game. That will be, a big jump in competition going from Oklahoma State, Northwestern, and Oregon State up to Penn State, right? And then you probably get caught in one of the other games on your schedule. The good news is you got Indiana and USC, and I guess Wisconsin at home. I could see at Iowa, at Washington, two of the tough places to play in the Big Ten, be a spot for you to trip up on. I have a hard time thinking, unless you get struggle from your quarterback and like your offense of consistency, I have a hard time seeing you slip up twice with some of those teams that you do have a talent gap, a talent edge over. Yeah, 9-3 would feel just incredibly disappointing for Oregon after last season. Even though like it's probably in the cards somewhere, I just find it being a little bit more likely that you see 11-1 than the 9-3.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I just think like that tier 2, I think of the Big Ten is a little bit closer to the tier 1 of the Big Ten than I think we've seen in years past. So that's why like I think I'm on the under on some of these like tier 1 teams in the Big Ten. It's because I think that this could be one of those years that we haven't seen in a long time where some of those tier 2 teams are taking down tier 1 teams, which really hasn't happened over the last however many years.
Yeah, which is exciting, and it makes the Big Ten. We kind of talked about, it's just we've talked about the middle of the Big Ten, being a Russian roulette, like just spin the wheel, man. Like what's going to happen? But if you get some jumps from quarterbacks that we are expecting with Iowa and Washington specifically, with those road games, that could be tough. That could absolutely be tough for Oregon.